And this meeting is being recorded.
It looks like that they don't have a microphone, David.
Oh, they don't have a mic. Oh, okay. All right. Well, anyway, welcome, Tayalina. Like, good to see you. Okoti, Pamela, good to see you back again.
Oh, thank you. That's my sister you were just talking to.
Oh, really? Okay, that's what's good. Welcome, 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 welcome. So yeah, that's awesome. It's always good. I was just trying to explain some things about asking questions. Oh, if you don't have a microphone, that's okay. You can put something in the chat box. And if I see a chat, I'll answer a question that you have. So if you want to, you could type in a question and I'll be able to answer your question for you. Okay. Sometimes my answers are pretty long and they're really thorough.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, they're very, sometimes they may be long, but it answers the question.
Yes, that's right.
Yes, because like I said, so wisdom is the power to ask questions and
Mhm.
knowledge. Because you say, you want wisdom, you want knowledge, and we want understanding. Good to see you, ACHI'KA Best. So we want to be able to ask questions, just make inquiry. We want to be able to, once you ask that question, and then that's like gathering information. And then after you gather the
Mhm.
information, you said, well, I want knowledge. And so knowledge comes from visual observation. So asking questions, you have to use your mouth. Look at the Hebrew. I'm going to show you something. So the Hebrew is asking the question, which comes from your mind. You ask it out your mouth, right? And you use words to ask that. That's how you get your wisdom. And then when you hear it, what the answer is, you take in the answer, right? And then you go back and whatever it was that the person said to you, you go back and check it for yourself. You don't take anything that anybody says for 100%. What you got to do is you have to be able to go verify. You have to verify what was said. You just don't take any answers on nothing. Okay.
Mhm.
It's really called authenticate. You have to authenticate what was said. Okay. Just like if you had nuclear codes, you'd have to authenticate it. And the way you authenticate it is you have to look with visual observation. Okay. So that's why Yah's giving us eyes. So in Hebrew, the word for eye is ayin, and it starts with this letter called an ayin, um, and it means to see. Okay. And then the word for to be a witness to something, you have to use your eyes. Okay.
Right.
But the same word that's used for wisdom, excuse me, for being a witness, the same word for that, if you flip those two letters around in Hebrew, is called da'ath. And da'ath means knowledge, meaning the door of the eye. So your eyelids are your doors. So if your eyelids are open, your doors are open. If your eyelids are closed, then your doors are closed and
Mhm.
no one can go in. No one's able to go in, right?
Mhm.
So that right there is called visual observation, and that's how you gain knowledge. That's how you gain knowledge, and that's how you become familiar about what someone said, and you have to look at it. Okay, so you got to
Mhm.
look at it for yourself. Okay, the last part is the understanding. So once you ask the question, you got the wisdom. Now you have the knowledge, which is the visual observation of what someone said to you. Verify it, you authenticate it. Then after you finish authenticating what they said, then you can decide whether or not you want to build from there. So the only reason why you're asking questions is because you want to build something. You want to create something. That's why the Most High has given His word to us, is so we can get wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. That understanding, that word comes from the root word called banah. Okay, it's a
Mhm.
bet for the letter Hebrew bet, the second letter in the Hebrew alphabet, and then the noon. Okay, and the noon represents a seed, and a seed means to continue, because that's why you need a seed. You plant a seed in the ground, it brings out a plant, and then that plant has seeds, and then those seeds can be taken and put back into the ground again, and then you can rebuild again. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so the same root, the word that's used for building is the same word that's used for a son called a bane. Use same two letters. And what does
Mhm.
he do? He builds the house. So every time, the more sons you have, the bigger your house will get and the bigger your family will become. That's why Yaakov had 12 sons with 4 different women, because the intent was, and he didn't ask for all those women, by the way, they were just given to him. Okay. And yeah, he did. He didn't ask for them. They were given to, he only wanted one. That's all he wanted. He wanted Raquel. And he ended up getting laid off of default because in their custom, it wasn't accepted that you would take the younger daughter before the older daughter because that was a shame to the family. So they took the older daughter, he gave her to him, and he had sons with her, and he had sons with, and the other one couldn't have sons. And then, you know, because then those sisters went into war and so forth and so on. So the understanding is this: you want to build after you ask the questions, gather the information, then you can build. And that's a recipe for everything in life. I don't think we ask enough questions. I think we look at stuff and we say, oh, I see it, so it's good, right? We need to start asking more questions about what we're looking for. And then once we get it, we hash through the material that we see, we examine it, and then we could build from there and say, do I want to do this or I don't want to do it, right? So that's the reason why the Creator wants us to continue to read the Torah, because tonight I'm going to show you some things that you've never seen before, ever. You never heard it, you never seen it, and that's what makes this really, really exciting, because the Creator loves us and he wants to share with us. So let's open up again with the Torah. It's a blessing that we bless the Torah, because the blessing of the Torah is the most important blessing there is, because out of all the peoples on the face of the earth, the Creator said, I want to give these instructions to my people. I'm going to give them some instructions. That's what makes us special, is that he said, out of all the people on the earth, I chose them to give them this instruction. Okay. And of course they did some bad stuff. They didn't want to listen, but that's okay. He still gave us the Torah. And here it is today that you and I are going to bless him, because that's what he gave to us. So here it is. I'll read it in Hebrew and then I'll interpret it in English. Okay. Berakutet Yawadi Hamvarak, the Baruch Yawadi Hamvarak Dalalam, Na Vaed, Baruch Atah Yawad Eloheinu, the Melech Halam, the Adasheda de Bikadnu, He de Benu de Mikole Hamayem de Benetan Lanu, Yet the Torato, Baruch Atah Yawad, the Notan HaTorah, Baruch Atah Yawad Eloheinu Melech Halam, the Adashed and Nathan Lanu, the Torah, the Met, and the Wakaye Alam, the Netah, the Batokinu, Baruch Atah Yawad, the Notan, the HaTorah. Blessed are you, Yawad, the blessed one. Blessed are you, Yawad, for all eternity. Blessed are you, Yawad, our Elohim, the King of the universe, who selected us from all the peoples and gave us his Torah. Blessed are you, Yawad, the giver of the Torah. Blessed are you, Yahweh, our Elohim. Blessed are you, Yahweh, the King of the universe, who gave us the Torah of truth and implanted eternal life within us. Blessed are you, Yahweh, the giver of the Torah. Hallelujah. I said, hallelujah. Bless the Holy One of Israel. Bless the Holy One of Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Bless the Creator of all things. Hallelujah. Bless the Holy One of Israel. He is the Creator. He is the Master. He is our Elohim. Hallelujah. Praise his name. Hallelujah. And you know what? Often we don't get a chance to say that. We don't say it enough, because, I mean, just think about it. We have a relationship with the Creator of the heavens and the earth and everything that's in them. Every insect is given instructions. He even gives them blood. He gives them a brain. He gives them intelligence to move around. He gives the birds the ability to fly, and they go through and they live their lives the way they're supposed to. And everything is in a cycle, and everything has its way, and he feeds everybody, and it's all set up and it's arranged, and we don't understand it. And here we are. We're part of that. And out of all that he's made, he decided to speak to our family. He decided to have a relationship with our ancestors. And we're the children of these people that he loved. And that's what's beautiful about this. Like Moses said, he said, have you ever heard of anything as wonderful as this? Yes. Has anyone ever heard the Elohim speaking out of the heavens, and yet they live? Has anyone ever heard of an Elohim taking a group of people out from other nations? Has this ever been heard? And guess what? The answer is no. No, there hasn't. You are special. Mm-hmm. You are precious in the eyes of the Creator. Oh, you better hear what I'm about to tell you. I got some exciting stuff. We're going to get right to it. Okay. So in this study, we understand from our core portions, which we've been reading, that the Creator of the heavens and the earth has our best interests at heart. Okay. So this is what it says. This is in Book of Davarim, chapter number 5. Okay. In the last couple of days, we've been reading. The name of this Torah portion is called YWHW. And YWHW means that I'm going to plead. Okay. I'm pleading to Yah to do something. Okay. And we also see that Yah had used Moshe to plead for the children of Israel. That's what he was doing. So everything he's been saying, he's regurgitating everything that's happened in the past. And these children of this generation of the ones who didn't do what he says, he's talking to them and he's saying, look, you guys are about to go on this land. And I have to tell you everything before you get there. I got to prepare you, and I'm going to plead with you, and I'm going to let you know what time it is. Okay. So chapter number 5, verse number 1, all the way down to 21, he goes over the 10 words. Okay. Which are they called the 10 commandments, but they're not called the 10 commandments. They're the 10 words. Okay. So they're the Constitution. They're what they would call the marriage contract between Yah and his people. This is what it says in verse 22, because then we're going to focus on just a few verses tonight. They're so powerful. I'm not going to go over like I did 4. I went through 4 like you wouldn't believe it. But here it is. These words, okay, we're going to look at it in Hebrew and we'll look at it in English. But first we're going to do English. These words, Yahweh spoke, this word Adonai right here is really the Yod He Wahe. And I'll write it in English. The Yod He Wahe. Okay. The Yod He Wahe. Forgive my writing, is using my finger on a computer. And it's the Yod in Hebrew, and then the Ha, the He, and then the Wa, and then the He again. And this name literally means the self-existing one. It means he exists. And this is the he. And this one right here exists. Okay. He exists. Okay. So what we have here is he exists. So these are the words that the self-existing one spoke to your entire gathering at the mountain of fire. A cloud and a thick mist and a loud voice. Okay. This word right here is very deceiving. They're making it sound like he just spoke to them. Okay. Which is not true. He didn't just speak these words to them. He yelled it. He forcefully said these words. Okay. They weren't like, hi, I'm the creator and here are the words that I'm going to tell you. No, he didn't say it like that. It was just what it says about the dark clouds and the thunder and lightning and the fire. It wasn't nice. Okay. So he says, then it ceased. After he said these 10 words, then everything ceased. The words ceased. It didn't exist. I mean, it no longer was it spoken. No longer was there anything said. Nothing. It just went done. Okay. So I want you to keep that in mind because it's on purpose that he's mentioning this about it ceasing. There was a loud voice and then all of a sudden there was nothing. Okay. But he wrote them on the 2 stone tablets and he gave them to me. And the me here is talking to Moshe. Moshe saying he gave it to me. When you heard the voice coming out of the darkness, right? Because that's what came out is a voice. That's what they heard. They heard a voice. They didn't see any shape. They didn't see any representation, anything. All they heard was a voice. And he says, as the mountain blazed with fire. Okay. So when you hear about fire and you hear about voice, you remember that the voice came out of the fire. When you heard this voice coming out of the darkness as the mountain blazed with fire, you came to me, Moshe, all the heads of your tribes and your leaders. The heads here are what they call Yeroshim, the leaders. Okay, the leaders here is your Zakein, the bearded ones, the ones that were There was leaders who were selected and then of the tribes. And then there were others that were just older. They were the counselors. They were the wisdom of the community. So all those men came to Moshe. So it wasn't just a few, okay? It was all of them. They ran up on him and they said, listen what they said. Here, Yahweh, our Elohim, has shown us his glory, okay? So Yah's glory is found in what? What did they see? Somebody tell me. What did they see? What is his glory? From what they're saying. What did they see?
Fire.
Fire. So the fire of Yah is associated with the glory of Yah. Okay. That's what they saw. Okay. So out of this fire, he said, we saw it and his greatness. This is what we saw. We saw his kavodo, which is his glory, and we saw his gadolo. Okay. Kavodo and gadolo. And we saw this and we heard his kolo. Okay. We heard his voice coming out. When you read a Torah portion, I always want you to, when you read, I don't care if you read in English, I want certain words to like pop out. The words that are used most are the words that you're always going to be looking at. So far we got voice, we got fire coming out, and you know, those are words that are used more frequently. So when you hear this, you always be like, okay, voice, Yahweh, voice, you know, and then it says again, here you go, here's fire coming out of the fire. And as we've seen today, that Elohim does speak with human beings and they stay alive. Okay. This is something that I want you to remember. So when we go over to the Hebrew, I want you to remember this statement. And as we've seen today, that Elohim does speak with human beings and they stay alive. That's what it says in English. The Hebrew is going to say something totally different. That's going to blow your mind. Okay. But why should we keep risking death? That's the question. Why should we keep risking death? And this great what? Fire. This great fire. Because they said we saw his greatness. Here's the greatness. See, they saw his glory and they also saw the greatness of it, which is the greatness of the fire that will consume us. If we keep hearing this, we hear this voice. This is how many times you've seen voice? Several times of Yahweh. Anymore, we will die. If we keep hearing this, that's why the voice lasted only for 10 instructions, 10 words, and that's it. And it says, for who, question is, for who is there of all humanity that has heard the voice of the living Elohim? Okay. Again, the voice is used again. So far in the couple of verses we have voice used several times. That's all we've been hearing about his voice. We heard his voice. We heard his voice. We're scared, you know, and then we keep hearing the same word again, fire. Right. And now you hear they're introducing living life, heavy state of life. Okay. He says, they're talking to Moshe, all the leaders and all the elders, you go near, you draw near to him and you hear, because we have heard his voice and we want you to go hear everything that Yahweh, our Elohim, says. And then you, Moshe, will come and tell us everything that Yahweh Elohim says to you. And we will listen to it and do it. They're making a promise. Okay, they're saying something. Listen. Now listen what it says. Yahweh heard. Now he's telling them what after they said what they said. He says, Yahweh heard what you were saying when you spoke to me. And Yahweh said to me, I have heard. So now we are hearing that not only did they hear him, his voice, but he heard them. Yah hears. He made the ear. He hears. Okay. So he said, and I have heard what this people have said, speaking to you, and everything. They said everything. He says everything. Okay. They have said is good, is tov. Is Yah telling the truth here? Yes. He never lies. So he's telling the truth. This is what they said. He said, everything they have said is good. Everything that they just said was good. It's tov. And then they give this statement here. Oh, how I wish. I'm making a wish. This is what they're saying the Creator said. They're saying the Creator says, oh, how I wish that their hearts would always stay like this. It sounds innocent, doesn't it? So they're saying that our Creator has a wish. He's making a wish. Like I wish they would do what I'm asking him. I want them to. I really hope that they can. I wish. So this word wish right here is what they would say, oh, it just means he's a soft word, but it could mean his desire. His desire is that their hearts would stay like this always, and they would fear me and obey all my commandments so that it would go well with them and their children forever. Okay, then he goes on, he says, tell them to go return their tents. So now that we read this, I want to share with you in the Hebrew. Okay, any questions so far? Any statements, contributions, anything anyone want to add? Because I'm open to hear it, not because I want to see how much you know. It's if you feel like saying something, you should say it. Who wants to say something before I go on? All right, here you go. All right, so what we're going to do is we only have a certain amount of time. So I want to just get right to what I'm talking about, okay? I'm going to introduce you to a couple of Hebrew words and concepts that are going to give you a better understanding of what we're talking about. All right, so again, you can find all what Yah has said in chapter number 20, verses 1 through 21 about the 10 words of what the covenant is. If you want to know what the covenant is found in chapter number 5, verses 1 through all the way down to 21, okay? And it's also found in Exodus chapter number 20. Those are the words of the covenant, okay? And so here it is, Moshe, we already got the background. He's interceding and everything, and they're talking about we heard this voice and so forth and so on. And here it talks about, and you said, surely he has shown us, let me see, his glory, Elohim, the eth is kavodo and his godolo. Okay, so his kavodo and his godolo and his kolo. Okay, so we know that kavod is glory, and glory for in this sense doesn't mean just lights and action and camera. What it's talking about is the weightiness, the heaviness of what's being spoken. Okay, so what they felt Yah's presence. They felt it. There's all kind of descriptive words about it being dark, earthquakes, lightning, thunder, fire, loud voice, shofar. There's all this going on at one time. Okay, and this is this pounding voice. It's not it's not that. It is I am Yahweh. And they're like, ah! Okay. And the greatness in what they saw was that this fire was not just great, it was all the way in the midst of the heavens. So wherever the sky at the top of the sky was, it was going all the way past there. Okay. And the darkness, it was dark, but yet there was another darkness called an arafel. And the arafel is like a fog, a dark, where you can feel it. Okay. That's why they were terrified. And so when they came and they were terrified, and after they heard what he said, let me show you something. Let me find it. He said, we have seen, and he speaks with man. Okay. All right. This is the verse that I want to focus on right quick. It says that we have heard his voice up here. Let me show you where I'm starting. And I'm going from right to left. His voice, we heard. Okay. So that is Shema Anu. That word Shema is used like 6 different times in these last couple of verses. This is one of the most prominent words along with voice. Okay. And he says, we heard it in the midst of the fire. And then what else? He says, and on the day of this, and we have seen that Elohim speaks with man. Okay. We have seen it with our eyes. Right here. We have seen it which is re'inu. This new here is we, and ra'a means to see. We have seen that he speaks, okay? So in Hebrew, this word davar has this letter right here called a yod. And this little yod right here is called he. Those of us who know Hebrew knows that that means he. So the verbs always tell you who the subject is. So the he that is this yod right here is pointing to this entity, which is they have God, which is really Elohim. It's a third person masculine singular, okay? And I told you the PL means that he's forcefully screaming at them. He's not just talking to them, okay? And this means with man. They're making a declaration here that Elohim speaks with two, okay? They got with here, but it's not with, it's two. Letting you know where this verb is, where this not just talking, this screaming, okay? This yelling, he's yelling at this human being. Okay. You got to remember the verbs tell you the action and how it was done. Okay. And so if you and I lighten up the message and I gave you, oh, well, he just spoke to them, then I will be giving you, I would be telling you something that sounds like the truth, but I'm not telling you in which manner it was done. Yes, sir.
Isn't that F not even a with or who? Isn't it a direct object marker to man?
Yes, that's what I just said. It's not with, okay? It's a direct object marker. That's why I said it's not with, remember?
Oh, that's what you said. Okay, I'm sorry.
I said, yeah, it's an arrow. It's a direct object marker.
Yeah.
So what a object marker is, okay, so what we have right here is we have a subject, okay? And we have a noun, okay? And we have a verb over here. Okay, here's a verb because it tells you right here. This is an action, okay? And then it tells you the noun, okay? Which then in Hebrew, the verbs tell you who the subject is. So it'll tell you if it's a male, it'll tell you if it's a female, it'll tell you who's doing the action. So in this case, we know that it's a third person masculine singular. Yeah. As you can see, 3MS. That M means masculine and the S is singular because the letter that they use for he in third person masculine singular is a yod. That's the letter that they use. Okay. And I'm gonna write the name of the letter if you don't know. It's called a yod, a Y-O-D. Okay. A yod right here. This is one of the letters in Hebrew, and it means hand. Okay. And in grammar, it means he. Okay. So the he right here in this yod that you have right here in this word right here is telling you, let me clean it up. This he right here, this yod right here, that means he in grammar. That's why it's called a third person masculine singular. Okay, so the he is here. And this he is the one, and you got to know, well, who's the he? It'll tell you who the he is. And the next one is the noun. It tells you it's Elohim. But they got plural right here. But they're only putting that there to let you know that that comes in two ways. Elohim can be plural because it does mean plurality, right? But not in terms of person, it means in quality. It means he's the power of all powers because El means power and Elohim means power, the power of all powers. So maybe I should explain that too. In English, they spell it L-O-L-O, and they say him, but it's really Elohim, okay? Elohim, okay? The last two letters, which are this mem right here in this I, okay, are equivalent to with this yod right here in this mem. Those are the two letters, okay? But what it means is this L right here means power. That's power. This last part right here it gives it a plurality, so it means powers, okay? So when they say God, that's just a title that the English people gave it, but it means powers, over all powers. He's over power over the sea. That's why every time you turn around, he'll say, I'm the one who makes the waves roar, but they know not to go past a certain point. He's the powers of the heavens. So he causes the sun to shine, or he could cause it to go dark, or he could cause it not to go down, or he could cause it to stay down. Like he made Egypt into darkness for 3 days. It was because he had the power to not let it shine. He can move the sun out of its place. He can move the earth out of its place. He can flip the earth upside down anytime he wants to. This should literally scare you, should let you know. Everything is being held together because of his power. The power of the animals, he gave each one of these animals their certain amount of power. The lion has its power. The elephant has a certain amount of power. There's power to fly. The eagle has its power. Humankind has its power. All of us have powers, but the author of all those powers is the self-existing one, the power of all powers. So he's not God. He's called Elohim in terms of his character and what he's in charge of. He's over all the malachims. He's over which are called angels, but they're not angels. They're called malachim. Okay. And malachim, just for you who don't know how to spell it, is M-A-L-A-K. That's a malach, one individual. And then I'm going to switch the color so you'll know what the plurality is. M. Anytime you got this on a masculine thing, it's plurality. M, just right here. M. Plurality. That's what it means. Elohim, M, right here. Plurality. Okay. That means more than one. Okay. So he's in control of them. And there's millions of them, thousands upon thousands. So the one who's speaking out of the fire is this great power of all powers. He's the power of fire. That's why he says, I travel with Israel in a pillar of fire. He's the power of the clouds. So that's why he traveled in the daytime by a cloud. So they would follow that. He has power of the winds. So he can open up the Red Sea. He has the power of the wind to open up the Jordan River so they could pass by. So think about all the things that he has done for Israel. Look how he's used his power. He used his power to destroy Egypt. He tore them down. He destroyed their trees with the hailstones. He destroyed them by sending insects to eat up all their vegetation that was left up after that. He sent in lice. He sent in frogs. He turned the water into blood. Not wine, blood. Okay. He has the power. He has the power of life. And there's no one who can deliver out of his hand. He has the power to kill and he has the power to make alive. And what he's trying to do with us is to get us to understand how powerful he is. That's the reason why he came the way he came, to show them his power so that they would fear him. So now that he says, we have seen, this is their testimony. We saw with our eyes. So they have knowledge because eyes are used for knowledge. They heard a voice. They used their ears. See? And they're going to start asking some questions. They're going to ask a question, which means that they have wisdom. They used it. And he said, oh, what the people said was good. I heard what they said because they made inquiry. And that's what you and I need to understand about the Creator. He doesn't mind us talking to him. He wants us to ask questions and he wants us to be like, hey, be 100 with him. So he speaks. And then they tell you who the he is. It's Elohim, the power of all powers. And he speaks, and here's the arrow. He's telling you who is he speaking to. He speaks to Ha, that means the, because that's what a definite article is. Yeah. And just if you don't know what a definite article is, there's what they call an article, and there's called a definite article, okay? In English, an article is an A. It's represented by A, okay? Which could be an A, or they say in English, a book, which could be any book, or it could be a tree, a person, a house. It could be any of them. But when you're talking in Hebrew, when the Creator wants to let us know something, really that he wants you to really know, he actually puts what they call a definite article, which is the. It's called a definite article, okay? And what is the difference between a and the?
The is specific.
The is very specific. It tells you if you say I got a table full of books, and I say I want the bread book. It describes and it lets you know very specifically. So that again, the here, the definite article, which is represented by the letter hey, is, that's what they use this letter in Hebrew to let you know that he's talking about a definite article. This letter here is attached to different words. So to let you know the, so in this case, it's ha-adamah, ha-adam, excuse me, ha-adam.
Hey,
Here,
Brother DeWitt,
yes,
and doesn't it only stand to reason that the ancient pictograph Hebrew is the behold?
yes, that's exactly what the next point I want to make, which means what? Behold means to what?
Pay attention.
Pay attention, and you got to use what to do that with?
Eyes,
The
ears.
eyes. That's why they said we have seen.
Yes.
We have behold, we have seen with our eyes. Meaning, like God is saying, look, behold, meaning with your eyeballs. That's the only way that you could do this, is visual observation. So if someone tells you, oh, you know, I'm spiritual, and you say, hey, what do you mean you're spiritual? And they're like, well, you know, I do this. Okay. But they're not using their eyes. Your eyes are given to you so you can use them. He gave them to you so you and I can see. He gave them to us to examine. He gave them eyes so they said, we have seen that what? We saw that he speaks to us, but why did he speak? What did they see? They saw the fire.
Yeah.
So they're letting us know, if you read the text properly, that we saw that he yells, he yelled at us. This
That's
Elohim,
funny.
this power just yelled at us and let it know. He didn't say he speaks with Israel. He said he speaks with Ha-Adam. And I told you what Adam is Adam wasn't the guy just walking in the garden. Adam is humanity.
Yes.
He speaks with humans, and humans are not just male. Humans are both male and female. I told you that. You could verify that and authenticate it by going to Genesis chapter number 1, verse 27. And you can also look at it in Genesis chapter number 2, I believe, in the first couple of verses. He tells it that I created man and female, Zakar and Nekeva. That's a man in Yah's eyes, because it wasn't just men who he spoke to. So I don't even like this word. He spoke to humankind. He yelled at humankind. This is the first time that the Creator has yelled at them. And guess what they said? What is this next letter right here, Bickham?
A
This
wa.
one right here, huh?
A wa.
A wah, okay? A wah in Hebrew is this letter right here, okay? Okay, and they got this little sign under here and you put an ah sound, but this little letter represents a W, okay, in Hebrew. That's why he says it's a wah, because it has a W and then a wah and then ah, wah. That's the name of it. It's called a wah, okay? That's why it says conjuncted with a W, conjuncted with a wah, okay? Now, in the English, it says he speaks with us and yet we're still alive. Isn't that what they said?
Mm-hmm.
Guess what the Hebrew says? The Hebrew says, we have seen that he speaks and yells Elohim to Ha-Adam. And then they put this conjunction, which is and. And is a conjunction. It means a conjunction is adding something together. So they weren't finished telling us something. They added, they wanted us to, a wah in Hebrew also means a tent peg. Okay, it's a tent peg. And the peg is used to hold things in place, a tent, so it won't fall. So it's used as a connector, okay, to connect things, to hold a rope for the tent. And it's a conjunction between the tent and the ground. It's connecting the tent to the ground by using a peg. So in Hebrew, they said, well, let's use this letter to make the connections of phrases and words and statements so we can continue to keep going on. Okay, so that's why they use this letter wah, because it's a tent peg. So the tent peg is connecting what was just said over here, and it's going to continue to, excuse me, I didn't mean to put that arrow there. It's going to continue and tell you what the last part is. The last part of that word is called kai. Kai. Okay, so what does this really says? It says, and yet he lives. Anytime you see brackets on a word, that means that they put that there. They put this word still here. And there you think he's talking about the he here, you think he's talking about Adam.
Mm-hmm.
He's not talking about Adam.
Talking about himself.
He's talking about himself. Let me translate it for you in the proper way. This day, because you're reading now this way, because that's how you translate. Okay. You read it this way and then you translate this way. Okay. This day, we have seen that the he right here is the third person masculine singular, and the he is the powerful one, the power of all powers, directly to the arrow, humankind.
And lives.
And he lives, third person masculine singular.
Yes.
What they were saying was this, folks. Not that we're still alive. They knew they were still alive. They knew at this moment when Yah spoke to them that he is the self-existing one. And yes, he does live. Because every God that they've ever been introduced to has never showed up and had life and has never spoken to them.
It's done.
When they made that golden calf, that's why Yah wanted to kill them. These are the gods who delivered you. Those gods never spoke to them. The gods that they learned about in Egypt never spoke to them. The gods that their father Jacob told them to get rid of before they went into Shittim. Get rid of your gods because they don't speak, they don't hear, and they don't see. Therefore, they don't exist. This is the reason why he says not to make any images. The fasel or the tumuna or the likeness of anything, because everything that he told us not to make an image of, he's the one who gave it life. How can you and I put any confidence in that which he made instead of the one who made it? These people weren't saying, and yet we're still alive. They already recognized that. They said, and he lives. Third person maxing. Now, same he that they said is the one speaking to him is the same Elohim that lives. That he's life. They know that now. Verse 26, therefore, okay, they say therefore. In Hebrew, it doesn't mean therefore, it just means now, right now. They're terrified. They said right now. They said he lives. They said now. Now, here's the wisdom. I started the lesson off talking about when we have to ask questions. This is called an interrogative. It's INTERROG, which is an abbreviation for interrogation. It's an interrogative, okay? Interrogative. And what it does is when you interrogate someone like at the police department, they ask you questions. Or when you're on a stand, they ask you, well, why? Or how? Or when? You're interrogating someone, okay? So they asked him a question. They interrogated him. That's why all these elders and all these old people came to him and said, listen, why are we going to die? Now we go, why are we going to die? Why should we die? Why should we die? They know that he lives. So now they know that, wait a minute, he does live. That means that it's very possible now that we could die. Not if the only reason they were afraid of him is because everything they were seeing. So they got wise and they asked a question. They said, why should we die? For it will consume us. Does images include photos of oneself? Do you take that photo and do you worship it? Do you take the photo of yourself and you look at it and go, oh, you're so powerful. I trust in you. You're the greatest thing since sliced bread. I look to you for your life. No, you don't do that. Religions have created this fear about us to make us think that we can't do certain things. but we're not religious people. I need to put that clear. These people they were religious because they were serving all these gods. This is what Yah's trying to get them away from, okay?
Mhm.
You understand? So listen, he says, or they said, because down they're asking Moses questions. And it says, why should we die? For will consume us the ha'esh. There's a definite article on that. It ain't just some fire, it's the fire.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's not only some fire, it's a Haggadola. Okay. It's Haggadola. It's Haggadola. It's the greatest thing that they've ever seen in their lives.
Yes, the great
And
fire.
out of this fire, this consuming fire that they said, thokalenu, a call means to devour, means to eat. That's what a call means. And eating means to devour. Like if you ate bread, you devoured your bread. So and consume. So they know that, listen, if he keeps talking and he's alive, we can die. Okay? Because there's this great fire. Okay? So if it just to verify and to authenticate what I said earlier when I said that he spoke with men and he lives versus say and we're still alive, the authors and the people who went in and transliterated this, they wanted to soften the message to give an idea of humanity being saying, well, if he speaks to us, we can still live. That's what they're giving you a sense of. That's the flip. Because this word right here still was put in here. They want you to believe that he can speak and people can still remain alive. Well, you said Israel stayed alive. The only reason why they stayed alive is because they only heard what? Somebody talk to me. What did they hear, Bickham?
Well, just his voice.
Yes, but how much of it did they hear?
Oh, not very little.
Let's be more specific. How many words did he speak to them?
Oh, yeah, 10.
He did 10.
10. Yeah.
And that's and that was enough
to send them running.
So chapter 5, verse number 1 down to 21 was enough to say that's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So listen what I'm trying to explain to you. Any more words that they believe that would come out of his mouth, they said it's over.
Right.
Because the sound kept getting louder. The shofar kept getting louder and louder and louder. And the fire kept going and going and going. The lightning was going and going. They were like, we can't endure this.
Right.
We need for you to break this down and chop it down. Because if we keep hearing him, we're gone. So they weren't saying, yet we still alive. That's pride. They weren't saying that. They were saying that he liveth. And now when we know that he lives, we know for sure now that we can die.
Right.
Because all the other gods that they had, they never died from anything that they did. Then he says this. They says this, if we hear this, this great fire, if any more, it's not anymore. In the Hebrew means this is called Yosef, which is from the word Yasaf, which is one of Joseph's sons. It means to add. That's what it means, to add to. So if there's any more additional words that we'll hear, if we hear anything, Lishmor, which is Shema's right here, if we Shema and Lishmor, anything else, Anaknu, if he adds anything and we hear anything else, we know that we're dead. We know that we're dead if we hear anything else. We're dead. If we hear any more in Shema, the Kol, which is the voice of Yahweh, our Eloheinu, you see the word Elohe in here? The power, our powerful one. Any more? See how they got any more here and they got any more right here? You see this? This one is called Yosephim, and down here they got Od. So which one is any more? See? He's saying if he adds any additional words to the 10 words that he's already said, we're of his words, in his voice, we're dead. then we shall die. So if they believe that they still lived and they only heard that 10, that doesn't make sense.
No.
It doesn't make sense. But I'm going to tell you the reason why they didn't want to hear this. It wasn't only because they would die. Okay, listen to this. He says, and they ask another question. Here's the following question that they ask. Okay, here it is. What is this? It says verse 26. He says, for me. That's the question they ask. They ask me. Me means who. I want you to remember that. This word me means who. And it's spelled in English transliteration, turning a Hebrew letter into an English letter. Me. Like Mia, me. Okay, like mit, me. Me means who. Ma means what? Okay. Me means who. So now they're asking a question and getting another interrogative. Okay. They're asking Moshe a second question. For who of all flesh, who or which have what? Have Shama. Listen to this. Who have heard the voice of Elohim, the living Elohim. You see? So now they're asking a question. Who of all flesh? Remember they just said, oh boy, you better hear what they said. Remember initially they said, he has spoken with human beings, and then they try to put, and yet we're still alive. And now here it is, they say, who has ever heard the voice of Elohim and stayed alive? No. They're not contradicting themselves. They're saying that he is a living one. And now that they recognize that he's a living one, they're telling us that we know that he's a Kaim. He has life. He's a living Elohim. They didn't know this prior to this. That's what scared them. Because up to this point, they were playing games. When you're serving a false god, you can play games with that god. You can say anything you want. You can do whatever you want because there's no one talking to you, and there's no one instructing you, and there's no one checking you, and there's no one chastising you, and there's no one correcting you. There's no one guiding you. There's no one prouding you. There's no one pushing you. When you serve a God that is not alive, there won't be any results in your life. This is what you need to tell your Christian friends and family. If you serve a God that's living, things in your life will begin to change. They recognize this, but there's a cost for dealing with a living God versus one who's dead or one who's died and supposedly raised up again. You need to understand that they know what's coming. Who has ever heard the voice of the living God and had living powerful one of all powers speaking from the midst of fire as we have of all flesh? That's a question. If como, like we have, not as we, but like we have and lived, a wakai, a waki, wayake. When has anyone? They're asking a question. That's a good question. Then he says, go near you and hear, and you see that word again that he's been talking about, Shema. I need you to go Shema again. Watch Shema, and you need to go and you need to draw near. You need to go and go close to him and look and hear the arrow, all the call, asher, the yomer, everything that he says. Who's the he? Yahweh Eloheinu, our Elohim, the power. You need to go to him and you need to find out what he's saying because he's not done talking yet. And you, Moshe, you come back and you tell us and hear it again. They didn't say to us. They weren't passive. They didn't say, oh, when you come back, just to, talk to us and just let us know what he said. They repeated the same type of verb. We would rather hear you speak to us and yell at us than him.
Mm-hmm.
We would rather, this was what he is trying to tell us today. Oh, praise be to the Holy One of Israel. Don't you know that if the Creator has never spoken to Moshe, then you and I would not be reading the words that we're reading right now. They asked Moshe to be the one to stand in the gap for them and tell them what Yah says because they didn't want to die. I'm going to say it again. if we do not read the words that Yah gave Moshe, we would die. Yah they asked him to go on our behalf and get the words, and we entrusted him to come back and tell us exactly what Yah said. That is exactly what you and I are doing today. Is not Moshe telling us right now the words that the Most High has said to us? If you're asking Yah to come down and speak to you in the flesh of a man, that's why people accept Jesus Christ. Because they're not going to hear him yelling at them. They're not going to see this fire. They're not going to hear this. They're not afraid of Elohim. He said, I've come this way that you might always fear me.
Yes.
But they don't want to hear this. So you got to look at Israel. Does Israel really want to hear Yah? No. That's the reason why they've never listened to him at all. They haven't heard his voice at all because it came through Moshe. Yes, what they said was good because Yah knew that he would kill them. Because immediately after he spoke to them, he told Moshe at the end of Deuteronomy, they're going to go against what I said. Moshe was a buffer. Moshe is an insurance policy to make sure that they don't be put to death that day.
They even said it. Don't let him speak to us no more.
Don't let him speak another word.
They said, no way.
You might ask yourself, why are you so passionate about this? Why are you screaming at me? Because God's talking to us and he's telling you and I something tonight. He's telling us that the moment that you and I don't read the rest of the word, if you read the rest of the words, you're dead. If you don't keep them. You're not going to have anybody talk to you like this. You're not going to have anybody teach you like this because they're trying to be your friend. They're not yelling and telling you what the Holy One of Israel said. I'll say it again. They said, if he speaks anything else to us, we're going to die. Why risk that? We don't want to die. And we would look at that and say, that's a very noble thing. That was a smart thing. Yes, it was. Because they knew they didn't have the heart to do it. They were buying time. Yah said what they said was good because he knew. Remember, he says, these people have never followed me. They have never done anything I asked them to do from the moment that I met your ancestors. Even to this very day, you haven't done what I said. You haven't listened to my voice. This is the reason why people don't want to read the Torah. Because the Torah is an indictment. The moment that you hear these words, it's an indictment. And if you hear them, you are going to be responsible for them. So why not try to get a mediator? Why not try to get somebody in between you and Yah? But what they fail to realize is the moment that Yah gave Moshe that, Yah put a stipulation on it and said, since they want it that way, I'm going to use you to talk to them now. And they think that they're not going to be held responsible to these words. Because Moshe said it, because they're saying, well, Moshe told us. If I'm going to hear something, I'm going to hear from him myself. If he ain't told me, I'm not doing it. I've heard that from family members. If he ain't never said it to me directly, I'm not listening to this.
Wow.
Because that's your interpretation. And Yah is giving us a clue that he says, guess what? What you said was right. Because he would kill them that day. And he's going to tell us why he would kill them. And I'm about to show it to you. Class is almost over. Yah says, and this is what they said. They said, Yahweh our Elohim says, we will hear it and we will do it. That's what they said. We're going to hear what he says. Again, you see that word again, Shema, right here. Shema, Shamanu, Wa Shamanu. We're going to hear it. We're going to hear what he says and we're going to listen to it and we're going to do it. We're going to Wa Asi. We're here. Wa Asinu. We're going to do it. The new on the end of a word, you'll hear this all the time, means us. We will do it, or we or us will do it. That's what they said. If you tell us, we'll do it, Moshe. So when they said we will do it, Yah, do you remember he said earlier, I heard what they said? Do you remember what he said? Yah said, I heard what they said.
Him was told.
So guess what? They were told, right? And did they not agree to this?
Yes.
Yes, they did.
Yep. They sure did. All that.
So
you said
even
we
though
will
they
do.
may think they agree with Moshe, they were still agreeing with Yah. And when you and I read the Torah, you think you're reading Moshe's words? Those are Yah's words. We chose to hear Yah through Moshe. 28. Again, what word do you see? The first word again, Shema. That is the theme in this, is about listening to his voice. And he heard. Who heard? Yahweh heard. The Yod again is the he, is Yahweh, third person masculine singular, lets you know who the subject of the verb, and then lets you know the person of the verb. The verb right here is heard. Yahweh heard. He heard the voice of your words, your Devarakim. He heard what you said, what you spoke. You see? The Devar, which is our book called Davarim, and the what? Devar. You see? He's heard your words that you spoke. He heard these things. He heard them. And he says, and to me, who, Moshe? He said, who? Yahweh. To me, I have heard. Again, Shema. He says Shemata or Shemati. I heard. What? Another arrow telling you I heard your voice. And I heard the voice of your words of the people. I heard it. I heard what they said. And this, what they have spoken of their word, what you have spoken, what you said is what? To ELOHIM, what you said to you, what they said to you, they are right. They're good. They're good. This right here doesn't mean right like in righteousness, because that's not the word for righteousness. This word right here is called tov. And it means, and it's hatov, right? Meaning what they've said has been caused to be functional. Okay, this is called a hifael, and it means a causative. So either you're doing something to cause someone else to do something, or something else is being caused to happen to you. Okay, so in this case, they cause to their words to be heard and to be acceptable and to be functional in Yah's hearing. Okay, all that they have said. Okay, because they say, hey, we could die. We've said that he's a living Elohim. Is that true? Is that function? Yeah, that he has spoken. Okay, now here's the kicker. Do you remember what I told you what the word me means? Me. You wrote it down. It's right here.
Means who?
It means who. But let me show you how the translators want to play a game. They turned around and changed this into an interjection. It's not an interjection. They changed it to an interjection because they don't want you to know that this was a question. Okay, guess who's speaking?
Yeah.
Yah speaking. And Yah didn't say, I wish. Oh, I wish, like they said in the English translation. They said in the English translation, what does he say? English translation, oh, I wish. I wish.
Oh, how I wish their heart.
Oh, how I wish. I wish. Oh, how I wish. He didn't say that. He did not say I wish. And he didn't say, oh, how I wish. He wasn't desiring for a wish on wishing on a star. He asked a question. And the question is this. And this is the question before we close tonight. Who? Who? Third person masculine singular, meaning who of these people? The who right here is he or it or the person who's there. It's called a he because if you got a male in a group, it could be a whole bunch of women, but if it's one male, he's going to recognize the he. The question is he, meaning the person, the human being. Because remember, he means what? They use Adam, but a human being. So what human being, what he, which consists of male and female, okay? Who of all these people, okay? who of, not they. They put they there. Does it say third person masculine singular here? Yes.
Mhm.
So they're trying to get you to think something about they. It's not they. It's a group of people, but he's not asking about the group. He's asking about the what? The individual among the group. You get that? And he's going to tell you what he's looking for, or the question he's asking, because he's inquiring. He's not, oh, that I, and he's not doing an interjection. He's asking an interrogative. He's asking who, because in Hebrew, there is no punctuation. There's words that are used for questions. So this word me right here, M-I, me, like Mia, is who. Who would give? This is give or set or place. That's what this word is. Let's verify. Give, set, or place. There it is. To give. He's asking who's going to give something to him. Who's going to put something to him? Who is going to set something to him? That's what he's asking. Who's going to give? Who's going to set? Who's going to put his what? Okay, listen to this. And it's not only going to give and put and set, but and exist and be and come to pass. Listen to this very carefully.
Because heart is Lavavka, isn't it?
Yes. So guess look, which is the next word. Lavav Kem. That's heart. You're right. This right here, this word right here, the hey, the yod, and the hey is called, to exist is called Haya. Haya.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me show you what Haya means. And you can write it down. Haya. 1961. Haya.
To become.
A good year. 1961. Haya. And look at what Haya means. Ha-ya. Haya. Okay. And it means to what? To come to pass.
Yes.
To fall out. To exist.
Mhm.
Okay. Listen to this. To become.
Yeah.
So who will give, place, and set, and become, and be? Okay. Fall out to be. If I put a yod right here, it's called yiye. Okay. In the Hebrew language, they use this root to tell you about Yah's name, because he's the one who shall be and shall come to pass.
Yes.
So in order for you and I to exist, in order for us to become, we have to do something. And the thing that you and I have to do is to give something. You got to give something to get something. This is not a free ride. Okay.
Mm.
You're going to have to give, and I'll go back to the word again, to tain, yatain. Who are you who will be able to give? Forget about they, because this is about the individual, because that's what the Hebrew here is, the he right here. And that's the third person masculine singular. Who of you will give? Who of you will give? I need you to give, set, place, and put, and exist a heart. Lavavkem. To what?
To fear.
Zay, to fear. But here they got fear. Here, see how they keep moving words around, Bickham?
Mhm.
Fear is not lahem. That means to them. A larira, la yira. That means to fear me. To fear what? Me. Othi. Okay. Who's going to fear me? See the Othi right here? Othi on the bottom right here? They had keep right here. They're off because they're trying to make something work. That's why every time you turn around, this word belongs over here. This word, heart right here, belongs to this word.
Right.
Okay. See how they keep moving stuff around?
Yeah.
And they don't even tell you what this means. They told you it's heart, but it means to exist. So you got to be able, if you read the Hebrew language, you'll understand what's being said. When I came upon this, I was blown away. So he's saying, who's going to give, put, set, and exist a heart of them out of the group to fear me and to keep the lishmor, that means protect and guard, eth all my commandments. And all, look, all their days.
Mm.
Who's going to do that? He didn't ask them, I wish that I had a heart. That it may go well with them and their children after them. Let me summarize it for you.
Because the one that does not fear him will not keep it.
And you won't exist.
Yes.
There's a cost for being Israel. There's a cost for him. If you and I, listen, He gave them 10 words. They got afraid. They were like, no, we can't hear no more. If we hear any more words, which is the Kukim, which is the Mishpatim, which is the rulings and the judgments and the ordinances and the Shabbats and all that. Okay. And all the details, they didn't hear all the details. They got the framework, the Constitution about if I'm going to be your Elohim. Y'all knew that they couldn't endure it. That's why he said what they said is good. Because guess what? He also tells us in Deuteronomy 29, if anybody there in their heart says, I can't do it and I won't do it, I'm going to keep my God, they all would have been dead. And did they keep their gods? Yes, they did. So they saved their own lives that day for a moment. Okay. So what Yah is saying to us is this. When you read any of these words that are written in the Torah, okay, you are taking upon the voice of the Holy One of Israel. He chose to have it written down because he says, I can't talk to you no more because I'll kill you. I will kill you. Okay. Because I know what's in you. Okay. I'm going to kill you because that's what they said was good. Because they knew that there's no way that they can endure Yah speaking to them any longer. So instead of Yah killing them, he says, I'm going to put it in writing. And the writings that I'm going to tell them is going to be the rulings and the decisions that I've made for them as my people. If that's why he says, if anybody doesn't do these things and they're presumed that they could get away after the priest has said it, or someone executed the judgment, or a judge gave a decision, and you try to go in and change that word, you're going to die automatically for that. Okay. So Yah's words bring death to those who violate it. Yah's words bring life to those who keep it. That's why he said, I said 2 ways before you. Yah is using Moshe's words that he wrote in the Torah, which is called your Torah portion. Okay, you got a Torah portion. These words right here, you think they're just in black and white and they're in a book, and you think that they don't have any power. You think they're just words, and they're not. Those words right there are going to be, that's what you're going to have your life in, or that's what you're going to have your death in. If people hear these words and they don't keep them, they're dead. In the book of Isaiah, he said, you know what? If you don't listen to what I said, you might as well go kill a man like you kill an ox. You might as well offer a pig on an offering table because you're dead anyway. You're dead anyway. Okay. So when I tell you guys that I'm passionate, I'm going off, I'm going crazy because I see this stuff, because nobody else is understanding what he's saying. It's right there. They discovered that he lives, and because he lives, they know that they're going to die if they don't do what he says, because the words that were coming out were fire. And that's what's going to come to judge the world. That's why he's using fire. Now, the reason why Moshe, because a lot of people say, well, why didn't Moshe run? Why was he not tripping? Why is he like, hey, this is the way he came, so you guys would know? Remember he said it in Exodus, hey, what's wrong? He just wants you to come up and hear the words. You know why he wasn't tripping? Because he already had an encounter with Yah. Yah had already spoke to him out of the fire in the burning bush. And so he already knew that this is how Yah comes. He already knew it. So that's why he wasn't tripping, because he already had an experience. Okay. So in order for us to move forward and understand that the living Elohim, his words that are written in our Torah portions are fire. Okay. And the fire, if you decide that you want to go back to your tent and you don't want to hear Moshe talk anymore, okay, you have to learn this. This is what he taught us. We're in exile because our ancestors said they didn't want to listen to his voice. And that's all through the prophets, is that they would not listen to what he said. Okay. There's life in his voice, but there's also death. That's what it is. If we don't get it, we don't do it. If we are not going to listen, you're dead already. You might as well go live your life. You might as well, because it's over for you. And because there's no way that you can listen to these words. And that's why people are trying to get away from them. And that's why they're listening to the words of Paul, Peter, James, and John, because in there, you don't hear any fire. You don't get any of that. You never cross your mind. So look at what he did. He stopped saying the 10 after the 10 words. It stopped. Yah's the one who stopped to give them a break to figure out which way they want to go. And they said, we want Moshe to teach us. So that's what Moshe's job is. That's why you're reading the book of Devarim. It's because those are not Moshe's words. They're Yah's words that he used Moshe to convey to us. So when you and I hear it, we get a choice to figure out whether or not we want to do what he says. Now, according to what our ancestors said, they said, we will do it. When they said that, they joined themselves to this covenant that there's no out, you can't get out of this. This is literally blood in and blood out. Do you understand?
Everlasting.
There were animals that were sacrificed. There was blood that was shed and sprinkled on the people, and this is how they got enjoined. It's blood, it's mafia. It's blood in and it's blood out. This is the biggest, this is the, and I hate to say, this is the one that you don't want to cross, is the creator. And I know we don't like what he does. I know we don't like him killing the kids and the women and slaughtering people and hanging people up in front of the sun for all day because they worshiped other gods. I know we don't like the fact if your daughter played a prostitute in your house, you take her out, you set her on fire. I know you don't like because your son is disobedient, you bring him out to the elders and they stone him to death. I know you don't like the fact that if you pick up sticks on the Shabbat, you're being put to death. I know that doesn't sit well with you. That if you mention the name of another Elohim, there's going to be consequences. I know you don't like that. And guess what? I didn't like it either. Because when I first read it, I was like, who would want to serve a God like that? And then I thought about it and said, you know what? He is the creator of the universe.
Yes.
He
You have a
can do what he
choice.
chooses to do. And I'm just a human being. So maybe I need to sort this out and figure out that I want to serve him. And that's what this is always about. You have a choice. You know, you could read right there and do Ezekiel 18. He tells you, you got a choice. You can serve me if you want, if you choose, but it's going to be on my terms. It's not going to be on your terms. It's going to be on my terms. And he put something on me today about me personally. I like to argue points about him. And I like to get on and teach people stuff on these different channels and try to convince a Christian and a Hebristian and showing them where they're wrong. And he goes, you know what? Don't spend any more time with that. The reason being is because I don't need you to do something that I didn't call you to do. The only words that they need to hear is Moshe, because that's my words. I don't need you to contend for me. My words contend for themselves. And if they choose not to listen, you're not going to be held responsible for them. They had a choice to make. That's what it is. They got the prophets. They got Ezekiel. They can read it. They got Jeremiah. They can read it. They got the Torah. They can read it. They got everything that you have in front of them. So don't think you're special, because you're not. I talk to all my people the same way. I tell all of them they're rebels. I tell all of them that they're dumb. And I tell all of them that you're stupid. And I tell all of them that I'm in charge. And guess what? And if some of them, they don't like that kind of talk. All you need to say is, I know that I'll die. I'll know that if I play with him, I'm going to die. That's what you need to understand.
Yep. Their blood be upon them.
You let their blood be upon them. That's on them. Because
Yeah.
guess what they need to do? They need to turn for themselves.
Yes.
If they ask you any questions, and people in your family, they can ask you questions, but don't go
Absolutely.
hunt them down and try to convince them of anything. You and I, because remember, that's the mistake that Moshe did. He said, you rebels. He didn't sanctify Yah. He didn't say what Yah said. He said what he thought that he should say and add on to what Yah said. It was an add-on. And Yah said, no. That's a no. You are my servant. I called you, yes. But guess what? You're my servant. You don't ever team up and act like me and you are the Wonder Twins. We're not the Wonder Twins. I don't need to deactivate. You are a human being. Stay in your place. Stay in your lane, and you teach what I said to the people that I called and that I talked to. Those people that you're trying to get at, you don't know I've probably even talked to them. So why are you wasting my words on them? Why don't you take your time to study more about what I said to the people who want to hear what I have to say? Don't give my words to people that don't want to listen to what I'm talking about, because that just infuriates me even more. Teach the people that I gave you what I said, and then all you guys be fine. Any questions, contributions? Because tonight was listen, this is huge. The question is, who of us, individual, will give our hearts to fear Yahweh and obey his commandments? And that was something for us. He wrote that so me and you'd be like, I'll do it. And guess what you say? He said, oh, really? You'll do it? Yeah, everything you said, I'll do. He said, okay. Let's see if you're going to do it. Because your ancestors said the same thing you said. But let's see now. Let's see if you'll keep it. Let's see if you keep the diet. Let's see if you'll violate my Shabbats. Let's see if you'll do the father and the widows dirty. Let's see it. Let's see what you'll do. Let's see. Will you call the day darkness? Would you change my words? Are you going to add and subtract from what I said? You're going to create a whole nother narrative, something I've never said before. You're going to add to the story? Or are you just going to do what I said? What's going to happen? Are you going to go to the left or are you going to go to the right? Because we're dealing with a living Elohim. So who we're talking about? We're talking about a living power. You serve a living Elohim. I know it's scary because I'm scared. I'm terrified because it could be bad because you just don't know. You don't know. Only he knows the heart. He says, that's why I test it. So we're his, you want to be a servant, he'll test you and he'll find out whether or not you want to do what he says. Because all of us got we can do a lot of talk, but can we do what he says? And he's the one knows that goes on with us. Even in the quiet hours of the night, even when you have to make a decision and nobody knows about, he knows. He hears us and he sees us and he knows every intent and everything we do. And he's going to reward us according to our own manner of life and conduct. Not mine and what's going on in these other camps. Not mine and the Christian people. He's going to judge me according to my works and my life and my conduct. And he's going to judge them accordingly. According to what? His judgments. And he's already told us what they are. So it's no magical formula. It's right there. Any questions? Any contributions, additions, subtractions? No? Great. All right, here we go. Let's see here. Baruch atah Yahweh Eloheinu melech haolam yatzon or uvorei koshek osei shalom uvorei et hakol. And what does it say? Blessed are you, Yahweh, our Elohim, King of the world. He is forming the light. He's creating darkness. He's making peace. And he's creating all things. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Praises to the Holy One of Israel.
Praise the Holy One of Israel.
Lala Tov, Akim.
Lala Tov, Shalom.
Shalom, shalom, shalom.
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 Shalom.